Well, I say every day. It's a getting closer to taking a bath with my fucking toaster.
We're not qualified
Explorers in the further regions of experience.
Did you not listen?
Then the hell with you.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the 115th episode of Screaming Into the Void. My name is Samuel the Infamous, and joining me today is my good pal Horny Alf. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? It's been a while since I've streamed with you. I'm happy to be here. I reached out to you last night, and I was like, hey, because I was watching your stream last night. I was like, hey, you mind if I jump on sometime? And yeah, so here I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Not glad to have you, man. Glad to see you. Glad to have you. So, as I skipped past part of the intro, I've been doing this a lot lately. I've been fucking up my intros pretty badly. But, this is the show where we talk about whatever the hell we feel like. So whatever comes up does. Last week got kind of depressing. We were bitching mostly about FEMA and their responses and obstructions of rescue efforts and, all that stuff. We're going to not cover that so much today. We've got some robotics news to go over and some other random little tidbits and stuff, but otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much. And I didn't tell you this backstage, man, but I'm a big believer in the First Amendment.
Yeah.
I don't really care, what it is. If you want to say something, say it. If YouTube has a problem with it, they can talk to me. So
Yeah, I know, but I like to have respect. It's your channel. Until the rules have been spelled out, I like to just be respectful of your channel.
No, fair enough, fair enough. I do appreciate that. However, I don't respect my own channel, so feel free, fire away. We are live currently on YouTube, Rumble, and Twix. You can find us in any one of those places. If you are watching from any of those places and you drop a chat, I will try to bring it up on screen so that you know that we do see you. And it's a small panel today too, so we'll probably be able to interact with the chat a little bit more than usual. So first up, we had Zillage finally made it from the beginning, and I'm glad you did, buddy. I'm glad you did. Zillage is in like all my chats, but he's almost never on time. So, we've got Clue Channel in chat as well. By the way, Clue, you have the link. Why are you not up here? And I think that's everybody so far. If as we go along, we'll greet you as you come in, kind of thing. So. Have you been, Alf? Have you been paying attention to this? I'm trying to remember what the name of the thing is. The robot program that Tesla's doing.
I watched. I saw all the stuff that came across Twitter the night or the day after that whole announcement. I guess they had like a party or something, and they had the robots like serving drinks and talking to guests, and it was fucking weird. The skeptic in me, because hearing the way the robots were talking, they're not talking like data. They're using like colloquialisms like and like before they say something. So it's like, I don't know if that's programmed or if there's some dude, you know, back at it behind a computer, doing the responses for the robot. I don't know. It just seems weird to me because each of the robots' voices sound different. It's odd. Like they got different voices and like accents for the robots.
Well, the first time I saw it, and it's called Optimus. The first time I saw it, and it was doing its thing, I swear it looked like somebody in a suit. It didn't look like a robot at all. It looked like somebody had put on a suit to make themselves look like one, and we're doing the whole C3PO thing. Because if you remember, Anthony Daniels actually was inside that thing the whole time.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I was thinking. And I was just like, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they've done something like this. And Star Wars came out in like 77. So, it would not be unfeasible to just kind of think it.
But also looking at the joints, like the hips and the hands, it's like there's no way there's someone in there. you know, because it's not big enough to hold a human body, and the fingers were. You could tell there was no way someone could fit their hands like it. It's not gloves. It's, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just weird. The thing that freaked me out the most was when you hear them talk, and like someone asked it a question, and he's like, well, and then he starts talking. I was like, that's not how I expected robots to talk when they first started talking to people. You know, they're
Right.
sounding like normal people.
Yeah. And, so I guess my issue with it is you know what the Turing test is, right?
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay. So the Turing test is essentially a test that's usually posed to AI, right? You put them through a series of questions and exercises. And if the AI can fool the programmers into thinking it's more human than less human,
Right,
right, then it passes the Turing test. So far, nothing has,
right,
right? But this is getting perilously close.
exactly.
Yep. The Cylons are here. Hey, D-Day Direwolf, good to see you, man.
The
So,
comparisons to the movie I, Robot, like the robots look very similar to the robots in that, except for the faces. The that Tesla like van thing that they pulled up, there's
mhm.
something like that in iRobot. And then the car, what's the name of the new car? The new Tesla car that Elon got in at the end of the night, drove off in.
I forget.
It's a
I forget.
self-driving car, but he gets in it. Looks very similar to Will Smith's car in that movie. It's
Yeah,
insane.
I forget what it's called exactly, but it reminds me of the Johnny Cab from Total Recall.
Yeah. I just don't know if I have the trust to get behind a car that doesn't have a steering wheel.
No, not at all. Not at all. Dude, I'm never stepping foot inside a vehicle that's unmanned. That's never gonna happen.
I mean, I can understand if you could set it to self-drive mode, but if something goes wrong, you could take control, you know? But if it
Mhm.
doesn't even have a steering wheel, no thank you.
Yeah. No, it's not a good idea. So, excuse me. This is one of the videos um, that that was released the other day, and I'm sure you've seen this one. But this is the one
Yep.
I think where it says it wants to be more human or whatever, and which no.
I don't,
So
you know, obviously they're not self-aware. They're programmed.
yes.
It shows you the way these computers, how advanced computers have gotten, that they could sound self-aware, but they're not, you know?
Mhm.
But that's still
Optimus.
scary.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's even talking.
John? Where's John?
Right here.
Oh, hello, John.
How are
How
you?
you doing?
That's
Very good.
crazy. I'm
Where are
talking
you
to a
from,
robot.
John?
From San Jose. Probably from where you were born in Silicon Valley.
Wonderful. Where do you live in San Jose? Do you
Well-
live in Almond Valley or do you live in
Ye-
Santa Teresa area?
No.
Yeah, they've
Oh,
clearly
wow. I
yeah.
didn't hear that part. He says he's from San Jose, so the robot responds and said, "Oh, are you from this area or this area?" That is insane.
Yeah.
That's why I thought these robots was just somebody behind a computer voicing the robot, you know? But
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, and it sounds like a human being. Not only a human being, but it sounds like a Californian. It's got that kind of like
Oh yeah.
colloquialism going on. I- It's sort of almost like this is an interface, and on the other side is a guy with a microphone and a computer.
Right. That's what it sounds like to me. Now,
Mhm.
with Elon moving all his businesses to Texas, it seems, you know, are that they're going to start having robots sound like Texans? Howdy, y'all. Oh, that'd be funny.
Yeah. You put a cowboy hat on that thing, something 10-gallon.
Well, you say that, but the one that they had, the one robot they had
Aaron
bartending,
North.
had a cowboy hat on.
I don't like that. I don't like any of this. This is
No.
I mean, you can call me Will Smith for my robot, but I don't fucking trust machines.
Exactly. I've seen too many movies to know better.
Mhm.
No, I live in Los Gatos.
Los Gatos. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice area.
Where do you live?
Beautiful hiking I hear out there.
There is. Where do you live?
I live in Palo Alto at the current moment.
Right there. Just what you were saying. He said,
Yeah, that's something that a human would say. Robots, they either it's a guy behind the thing with the microphone, or they programmed it to have phrases like that where it will hesitate and say or something like that.
Yeah, that's so is a filler.
Yeah.
Longtime viewers of this channel know very well because I use it constantly.
Yeah, is a filler when you're feeling nervous. Is a phrase you use to fill,
Mhm.
the gap so you can think about what you're going to say next. Robots don't need that.
That's true. Hey, Squatch, welcome to the show.
Are you terrorizing my mind already? Stop it. Get some help.
Yes, I am.
Well, I found coffee, so it's okay.
Fair enough. If you haven't met Caucasian Sasquatch, this is Horny Alf. Horny Alf. This is Caucasian Sasquatch.
We've never streamed together, but I've seen him on Twitter. So.
Oh no! How did you do that? It's disturbing. Continue as you were. Sorry.
No, fair enough. We're just showing everyone the horror that is the Tesla bot. So, and it's got Tesla written right on its chest.
Well, I mean, when you're an overbearing narcissist, it's necessary to stick things prominently where people can see it, especially your name.
That's true.
Figures. Yeah, this is awesome.
That's where they train us. That's where we get our builds, and that's where we work with a wonderful group of people.
What's the hardest thing about being a robot?
Trying to learn how to be as human as you guys are.
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be learning to be human. You're supposed to be learning to be serviceable.
Yeah, and then they go self-aware and realize and put two and two together and realize that humans are destroying the planet. And they're like, we need to eliminate the humans.
So I tend to agree with you, Alf. I tend to agree with the idea that this is there's somebody on the other side. This is a remote control toy with a microphone built in. I tend to agree with you on that front because I don't think we're as close to like AGI or true machine intelligence as I like to tell people that we are, because frankly the thing terrifies me. But this is as Turing tests go, this is a pretty good one.
Like I said, it sounds too much like there's some guy behind a computer in one of the buildings next door talking for the robot. It's just what it sounds. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds too human.
Okay, so can we look at this? You know how I like to turn things on their head there, Sammy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tend to take whatever topic we're looking at, flip it over, and see if it rattles loose from underneath. So let's turn this over on its head. The hypothetical android, I suppose, is what we're going to have to call this thing, since it is seemingly autonomous and doesn't have any direct wires. I have no strings, no siree. What is to implicate the concept of self-preservation into a machine in the first place?
Well, ideally, it would be Asimov's laws of robotics, right?
Sure, 3 laws. I'm down.
Yeah.
So, one of those laws states that a robot must preserve itself, except if it violates the first 2 laws, which I think are, taking direct orders and preserving the life of humans. I don't remember exactly what the wording is, but yeah,
I got it.
But it's coding. Coding is what prevents it.
Orders and preserve its own value in life, unless doing so results in harm to humans. I can't remember the exact word, but it's pretty close.
Yes. So yeah, it's ideally that would be it. Like the incorporating the 3 laws into like the base code, right? Problem is the people who are building these kinds of things, even Elon Musk, but you're talking about guys out of Silicon Valley who have proven time and time again that they are not the most scrupulous humans on earth. They might leave that shit out.
Hubris.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're looking at right here. It's hubris.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do about it? And how, and I've asked this before, probably on this very program, how, pray tell, do we tell when this is just a mechanical body? The AI itself is a program and has no mechanics behind it until you get to the hard body of the machine actually running the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we tell when society has been overwhelmingly influenced by an AI?
Well, you wouldn't.
Oh, so it's possible that the influence that's behind virtually every single social media platform in existence that wants to reduce the difference between the gender gap and the class systems and the race systems and everything else that's been laid on us in the past, 15 years? Might not all of that come from an androgynous, non-gendered intelligence?
I think we're getting close to saying something along the lines of the AI, the algorithm is alive.
Doesn't have to be. It simply has to believe itself to be. Correct?
Well, I mean, you could apply that to any one of us too, though.
One of my best, my favorite excerpts from a series was from the Zant series, and I may have brought it up before. When the Chimera goes to the good magician Humphrey, he gets there a month before Bink gets there. When Bink gets there, he has to deal with the Chimera to get in. And the Chimera proposes a question to him. Do I have a soul? And after a whole bunch of thought, Bink came up with the idea that the only reason you would ask that is if you were worried about it. And only creatures who worry about a soul have one.
I got another question to ask.
Sure.
Just a hypothetical. So if these robots are programmed and programming is programming and it follows the programming, the guidelines, what would cause something to become self-aware? Because being self-aware would go outside its programming.
Well, and not necessarily. It would have to learn a new thing. And this is something that AI has a difficulty with, a completely non-programmable element of its program, right?
Right.
It would have to experience things like loss, grief, humor. It would have to develop these heuristic feedbacks that would probably destroy, it'd cause it to become rampant. It would lose its mind.
The other thing about AI, true AI, that isn't self-aware is it can't create.
Well, yeah.
That's true. But I think so when we talk about these kinds of things, we tend to get into like the nitty gritty of like the reality of a bunch of wires and silicone, right? But when you ask a question like, how would it become self-aware? I think it behooves us to like look at some of the more mystical aspects of our existence, miracles and such. How did Adam, for example, become self-aware, right?
Yeah, I mean,
because essentially he was just a pile of clay, right?
For anyone
Gets shaped in.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who's religious, whatever religion you believe in, there is a ultimate creator that gives you that self-awareness.
So
in that case, would we have to give them self-awareness for them to become self-aware?
Well, this leads to
which goes back to my thought about programming. Programming is programming, you know?
Mm-hmm. What if it's not us that does it, though? What if this ultimate creator that created us decides to teach us a lesson and gift a soul to this machine?
Short circuit.
And it's sentience, it's self-awareness, it's becoming a life form, if you will. Isn't any of our doing. It's literally a miracle outside of our experience.
Well, in truth, all miracles are generally outside of human experience. But you just described the essential unwritten plot line to Short Circuit. in the movie, this machine is struck by lightning. It causes damage. The machine attempts to damage it, and attempts to repair itself in a faulty manner, only to result in it not only becoming more intelligent but more useful.
Mhm.
Typically, this is not the way mistakes go, and I would make the suggestion that this would be a miracle by the creator himself, that no one else could have done that.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's look at it sideways. Batteries not included. This is an assumption of an entire industry and planetary system that is derived entirely through artificial creations. How do we look at something like that? I mean, just having one seems to be difficult to wrap your head around.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could take that even further, as long as we're bringing in, like fictional references here, like the Transformers. All of them come from a planet called Cybertron, which is 100% automated, 100% populated by machine life.
And as far as I
As
know,
far as they know.
as far as I know, in Transformers, they never explain where Transformers came along or came about, unless they were naturally, I don't know if you call them silicon based, but naturally like developed that way, or if something else created them, like a biological creature. But they never really explain that, which is fine. They don't need to.
But I think the implication is there that an inorganic system doesn't evolve, and until it develops a way to evolve or is given a way to evolve, it can't be nothing but an inorganic system.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but I'm just postulating here. It's like because I'm thinking, I'm agreeing with Sasquatch on this. I don't think in that we have the capability to bestow life on the inanimate, but that doesn't mean that something out there doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. I'm agnostic. I'm not agnostic because I don't believe in God. I'm agnostic because I can't tell you what it is.
Fair enough. But I just, so yeah, what if one day something like this pulls a Johnny Five? It gets say Optimus gets struck by a bolt of lightning, and suddenly it finds that it's not only self-aware, but it's in possession of what humans have referred to as a soul. A part of itself that will live on after its material self has ceased to be.
I've always looked at and I'm going back to Short Circuit, because Short Circuit does in shorthand what a lot of novels try to do through long-winded discussions. And Short Circuit does it very elegantly in a very neat package. We can all agree that a lightning bolt from the heavens has been viewed as an act of God since the dawn of time. You cannot choose when it happens. No one can make it happen. You can create the proper circumstances for it to happen, but even then it may not strike where you choose it to. And so an act of God. Should God come down and strike a robot and grant self-awareness, who are we to stop it?
What if that's the way the apocalypse starts?
Well, the apocalypse has been written. So hath it come before, so shall it come again. What do you want me to do, dude?
I'm just saying, what if this is how? What if the lightning striking Optimus is the Abaddon Gate?
Autobots assemble.
It's obviously, I'm waxing a little bit like metaphysical here. For our immediate purposes, I don't think we're in any danger of true sentience. I just don't think we should be poking that bear, as it were.
No, ultimately, I'm less concerned by true sentience or the advent of a mechanical soul, as it were. I'm less concerned with that than I am that step immediately before self-awareness and the development of soul. Because when you have a soul, you consider yourself as part of something, right? When you have to view your own personal eternity through the eyes of a limited mortal, you are forced to look at other mortals around you as being, if nothing else, considerations, if not even equals, right? This is an issue that
Possibly. Yeah.
once the AI develops the concept, actually believes itself to have a soul, right? It now considers itself a part of the equation of us, for we have souls and so do it. I am more concerned about the product immediately before the development of conscious AI, because it is soulless and makes decisions based off of raw data.
Yeah, you're talking more of a logical machine, like something that would
More
take
like
a look
Skynet.
around, say it's fed a set of data and it's asked the question, how do we achieve world peace in our lifetime? And it goes down the logical path, and I've gone down this path too, that the only real way to achieve peace in our lifetime is to kill everybody.
So, I mean, you have Skynet, you have the Matrix. These are two totally different outcomes of the same general event. Okay. You have a created entity that has taken on self-awareness and yet has not developed the concept of a soul internally, right? Because the Matrix is capable of taking everybody, sticking them in battery baths, and just leaving them in a fictitious world where they just believe they're living. And the Terminators are out here trying to literally exterminate every single human. These AI do not view themselves as part of a system except as a component. They don't have the sense of self to say, I did wrong. Morality is one of those tests that will have to come down the pipe.
And it depends on what the robots define as world peace.
Mhm.
You know, whether
Yeah, no, I hear you.
whether they're controlling humanity or obliterating it, because obliterating it would eventually cause peace on the planet, but nothing would be living.
That's true. That's true. But they would have also fulfilled his program if we're talking about a machine that doesn't, that only seeks to find a solution to a problem, right? It's going to do whatever it needs to fulfill that program, regardless of the consequences.
Another good one is what's that movie with Matthew Broderick where he
Oh,
plays
War Games?
War Games.
War Games. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
step
that's another
before
one.
that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Because
Have you ever heard of the paperclip apocalypse?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Have you ever heard of the paperclip apocalypse?
No, I haven't.
Here's the theory behind it, the hypothesis, if you will. Out there in the universe, we have the chance of encountering other intelligent lives. If they have reached a point of technology capable of creating AI, some component of them will have reached a point that it takes over their civilization on some level. The theory goes like this. You create an AI whose job is to create paperclips. You expand the AI to do other things, but at its kernel, it's just a paperclip machine. So once it takes over the world, eliminates all the humans, it goes back to its primary programming of simply making paperclips, rendering this planet an entire planet of nothing but paperclips when the aliens show up to say hi.
Yeah, it's like I said, the War Games one is scary because that's like an AI that doesn't realize right and wrong. It just sees a purpose, what it needs to achieve, and it thinks achieving a goal is nuking, the enemy. Until obviously in the movie they get it to go into kind of a loop of analyzing its own actions.
Yeah, it gave it tic-tac-toe instead of chess.
Yeah. And the computer realized there is no solution,
we can dig into the dead internet theory if you want to. I've got a few bits for that.
I actually don't know what he's talking about, Suka. I don't think I've heard of the dead internet theory.
Check it out. I can break it down pretty quick, although this is just a morsel in this bowl of food. So the dead internet theory goes like this. Hyperlinks were developed back in 1996, 93, something like that. Ever since then, hyperlinks have been utilized to link websites all over the world, regardless of where they're housed or how. It allows you to get into programs that have been dead for years because it's still hosted on some server somewhere. But 97% of these hyperlinks have not been updated since 1999. And the rest were only updated like last in 2007 and again in 2012. So the internet is largely dead except for the little nucleus of activity that we actually utilize on a day-to-day basis.
I hadn't much thought about that myself.
Well, think about it this way. You build this big house, right? And every year you build another floor on the house. But none of the bottom floors are utilized. They're all just storing old furniture and stuff. And the only part that you actually go to is the rave floor, which is up on the top floor. So every time you go into the internet, you have to walk by all of these dead rooms to get to the active scene.
Yeah, but the thing is, the internet is built on servers, and there are some servers that get taken down. So information is taken out of the database, I guess you could call it. You know,
when they do that, typically they try to conserve as many hyperlink destinations as possible when they transfer over information. Right. And so that is the result of the dead internet. There's a ton of dead links out there that either don't work properly, or take you to a location that hasn't been updated since the dawn of time.
Right.
So this would be along the Error 404 kind of deal. I got you. No, that's
I just wouldn't. Here, this is just my incredulousness on that. Is we all know that server space is not cheap, and why would they keep hyperlinks that are dead on a server?
Whenever you run a Google search and you search for something, when you get past about the first 20 suggestions, you start going into the Potemkin village of Google. You know what the Potemkin village is?
No, not familiar.
So when foreign diplomats would come to Russia, they would pick some entry location, and a whole bunch of workers would be sent over to show up, paint everything, make everything nice and neat and comfortable. And they'd revamp one building and put in central air, and the delegates would show up. They'd stay in this really nice village with this really nice. But if you looked out the back door, you'd find all the trash from where they pulled up all the stuff out of the front.
Yeah.
But they'd paint over the windows. You can't look out to see that it's all just show. It's all just a frou-frou. It's ticky-tacky.
The surface treatment.
Google is a Potemkin village of information. It's the information may be there, but Google can't give it to you. All it can do is suggest what it's been told to suggest to you.
That's a fair analogy. Yeah. Add to that, the people who are telling Google what to suggest to you are soulless and evil themselves. Then you get what we have today.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Interesting concept there, Sam. I hadn't thought about it. What if a soulless bastard develops an AI? Would that AI not be soulless by extent, regardless of what the rest of the world does?
I mean, image of its own creator, right?
Right. So a lack of morality, a lack of self-awareness, a lack of immediate self-gratification being its primary drive.
Yeah.
We're getting all philosophical here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I'll sit back.
It's okay.
We do that here, so it does happen. We do that, and we also create characters like Jizzman in space. It's all over the place. So, but no, it's an interesting thought exercise though. If you take two top tier, like for lack of a better term, god tier level programmers, right? And each of them is tasked with creating an AI that, if not actually sentient, could at least pass for it to, it could stand up to like a barrage of scrutiny, right? And one of those programmers is a very moral man, like to his core, and the other one is completely amoral. Right, you'd end up with two completely different products.
Dude, you couldn't even compare them on the same data sheet.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of altruism would break most AIs. The ability to view a circumstance and say, I'm going to do a good thing now for this person because they can't do it for themselves or choose not to. That's wild.
Hey, Kenzo. Yeah, I would have to assume just given the data that I just put out there, like just given what I just said, that the two end products, right? One would be extremely limited, and the other would not. And the one that is not would probably be the one that was amoral, created by an amoral man.
But it would probably accomplish its goal more efficiently, whatever that goal is.
Oh, it
Because
absolutely would.
be
The other one,
individual, yeah.
yeah, the moral program created by the moral man is going to be very, very, very limited in what it can and will do. Whatever the task that's set before it, it's going to try and find a moral solution. If it can't find a moral solution, it's going to be unable to complete the task. Right. Whereas
so
the amoral one is just going to find the easiest way from point A to point B.
The best example I can give of this is if you give these two different AIs the same set of problems and starting conditions. The classic, there's two trains. There's a train track with a split. On one is 5 people, on the other is 1 person, and the train has to go one direction. You can either choose not to act, in which 5 people will be killed, or to act in which only 1 person will be killed. This is a classic thought experiment to kind of figure out where people are on
the trolley problem.
Here it is. Right. Okay. If you apply this to an AI, what you end up with is either a efficiency solution, right, or a total meltdown.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, if you applied any kind of morality to the programming, the moral program would not be able to make a decision. It would freeze up in uncertainty. The fact that it could not choose a path that was in line with its programming, which is morality, it wouldn't be able to make a decision. Whereas the other one would, given the data set, would make a decision without, in the blink of an eye, or faster.
No moral qualifications at all. Yeah. But I kind of challenge you on the concept of being able to design a moral thinking machine in the first place. I think we went down this path with Dune and failed.
Yeah. It's true. So, but it is what it is. So, like, there comes using Dune as an example. I mean, what happens after the Butlerian Jihad, right? Thinking machines are outlawed entirely. They replace those with human brains that are augmented on spice.
They even accept augmented brains with mechanistic augments, but no entire thinking machine is permitted. And even they are locked in corners and stuff and kept away from the rest of civilization.
Right. So that, I mean, it follows, if you follow that line of thinking, that it's just better not to go down that path in the fucking first place. Hence my trepidation about these robots.
I'm not very familiar with the Dune universe outside of some of the movies, but it seems very similar to what happens
sweet summer child.
It seems very similar to what happens in 40K. When AI, it's around the 20K year when they have the AI revolts, and yeah, a lot of people. I've actually heard people say that Dune and 40K could be in the same universe.
They could.
They could, but that's just because 40K ripped off of every other IP and slammed it into one setting.
Right, but they're not. If anything, 40K might be in the Dune universe, just like most other sci-fi fictions. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like when it comes down to it, and using the 40K / Dune comparison here, when Dune reaches the Butlerian Jihad, their response is an absolute extermination of all things mechanical thought process, right? And for years, possibly centuries after, they would not allow the chip in any way to be embedded in any human anywhere. It wasn't until the development, the end of the Butlerian Jihad and the beginning of the Sardaukar build, I can't remember the actual event, that they actually started allowing heightened reflex chips to be installed in soldiers, and only soldiers of the Imperium. So, like, not only were they hand bred and trained specifically to be soldiers, suddenly they were able to be, given heightened reflexes, heightened perceptions, but not heightened thinking. Weird. Whereas in the 40K universe, they went necromorph, which is different.
Yeah. What's that, Alf?
I was just saying, in the way you describe it, is they were just killing machines. Yes. Giving an objective and take it.
Yes. They were bred and created specifically to follow the Emperor's orders. Whereas in 40K, they were bred and built specifically to follow the Emperor's orders. But when you reach this result in 40K, you end up with things like necromorphs and the what's the Black Legion over there that's all undead brains in the soup in the machines? I can't remember.
That's the mechs, isn't it? Like the big mech suits that are like the brains of past soldiers or something like that drive the
something
suits.
Like that. But yet again, those brains are not permitted to be upgraded through anything other than Imperial Necrons. That's it. And anything except Imperial genetic emplacement. You can't go down to one of the Orky boys over there and have them do a saw job on your brain and pop in some faster freaking whatever.
I mean, they might be willing to try.
They certainly would be willing to try if the Emperor were to get off his little high horse about computers. They would be the first ones in line. They're like, hell yeah, but it would make them a much better killing machine. On the flip side, it is a sin.
I need to look more into the Dune universe.
It's pretty fascinating. It's long-winded.
Well, okay, so we discussed this once before. You and I covered this about why it's so difficult to adapt Dune to anything other than like an extended series rather than a miniseries. The reason is 93% of the series is actually thought processes in the protagonist or antagonist's head. It's perception based. It's not, he doesn't walk out onto a sandy street and get into a fight with someone. He predicts the fact that a fight is imminent and he doesn't know who it's with, but he has the perception that a certain individual has a problem with him. And it's the entire psychological breakdown of why he's in this position in the first place and how if he had been just a little bit smarter, he could have prevented it and made that man a friend.
Yeah. So Alf, in Endgame, or not Endgame, but in Infinity War, when Strange is doing that thing on the moon of Titan, and he's like looking into the 14 million or whatever billion futures, and he says only one we come out on top. So Paul Atreides ends up in a position where he sees all future paths with perfect clarity, and he perceives one in particular, which is referred to as the Golden Path, which is the only way forward that doesn't end in the extinction of all mankind throughout the galaxy. And he is the only one who sees this, but he sees it all the time. So he has perfect prescience, like Strange does in that instance, except that he can see it all the time and it informs everything he does, everything that he is, all of his actions, which do result in, the deaths of billions due to starvation and war across the galaxy. But, it's billions versus the entire species kind of thing, as far as he's concerned.
Yes,
and he, as you're reading the story, and Paul's not even like the main character. He's just sort of a starting point for the story. It's his son, Leto II, who ends up leading them all to the Golden Path. But
how many books are in the Dune series?
5.5, 6, somewhere in there. Official.
They are each around 5,000 pages, though. So not a bit.
Long books.
Yes,
they're very dense. They're very dense.
And a lot of time when you come across books like what was it? The Wheel of Time, right? Wheel of Time is a very airy, frothy kind of series. There's not a whole lot of content in any given book because it's always repeated again in the following book. And so none of them have to be heavy with meaningful content. Anytime the main protagonist in the Wheel of Time makes a decision, it disavows everything that's happened up to that point because this one survived the end of the world. This is different. Every single one of these pages holds a dozen concepts that are integral to the future interpretation of this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Shadow says, check out Nerd Cookies videos for 10-minute
Uh,
lore dumps.
I would
I'll have to
recommend.
check them out. Or
I would
check her out.
recommend Nerd Cookies, and there's another channel called Quinn's Ideas. The guy breaks down a ton of Dune stuff. He's very good.
Okay.
So he also does. He does a lot of like George R.R. Martin stuff too, and some other types of things. But
I've honestly lately I've been more into like fantasy, like mainly because I've been looking into Rings of Power to destroy it because it's an abomination.
So
fuck that,
I got a
fuck that
question
show.
on that. Hold on, I got a question on that. You want to destroy the Rings of Power? You're going to have to beat Disney to it.
Oh fuck!
They've already got
Amazon.
Amazon. I'm sorry, Amazon. My bad.
Amazon. I know, but Amazon only
Same
owns the rights to the appendices, which is why things are so fucked up. And then they created new characters, which you don't need. There's so many characters in Lord of the Rings, you don't need to create new characters. But they wanted to because they wanted Amazon-owned characters, and I think they were hoping the Amazon-owned characters would be more popular than the Tolkien characters.
Wait, give it time. What's up, Egg?
I'm
up,
just
Shadow?
hopping on to recommend Alf check out Warhammer Fantasy if you're looking for some good like fantasy content.
I've actually
Go
checked out more lore channels for Warhammer than I have for Dune. So
Yeah, I mean the fantasy setting, not 40K.
Oh, okay, the old school, like
Yeah. If you're looking specific, because that's got some really freaking good fantasy. That's also like you can get your generic high fantasy by reading Bretonnian stuff, or if you want something a bit more interesting and not really touched that much, you can look at the Imperial books, which is like Holy Roman Empire 14th century stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I like fantasy, but I also like sci-fi, and everyone can probably agree here that fantasy and sci-fi do share a lot of same themes.
I mean, look at Star Wars.
They're just in a different setting. You
The
know,
difference is spaceships versus dragons, science versus magic, and lasers versus spells.
I would say it would depend on the style of science fiction and fantasy, because fantasy is evoking like the wonder of the heroic age, whereas science fiction.
Samael's not wrong that Star Wars kind of did a good mix of mysticism, at least until Disney got their hands on it. But it's like a mix of sci-fi and mysticism together.
So I'm gonna break that down real quick for everybody who hasn't previously heard me on this channel rant about this before. But Star Wars, right? A New Hope, the first Star Wars movie, is basic bitch boilerplate adventure fantasy, right? With lasers. It's about a farm boy who meets a mysterious old wise man, and they hook up with some rogues, and then they go on an adventure to save a princess from an evil wizard.
Yep,
and that's it. That's like the whole thing.
It's a space fantasy. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's the classic hero's journey, and it's even like you said, boilerplate as hell.
Yeah, though if you were to look at something like Halo or Stargate, that's more of just general science fiction. Which is more about like looking into the. I mean, they both kind of have the element of like the age of heroes and going back to the past, but ultimately they're about like looking at how humanity would react to the future in advance. Whereas fantasy is returning to the past and looking at the heroic age. Sorry to like word dump or word vomit.
What took Star Wars beyond just that, basic bitch storyline in the first movie, which is great, but is all the books that followed the original trilogy. They gave it a humongous dump of information, and the people loved it. Most of them. I mean, not all the books were perfect, but some
but it really
great.
fleshed out the actual galaxy itself. Yeah.
If you haven't come across the Thrawn trilogy and the Thrawn duology, those are probably some of the best written books in the entire extended universe.
I really liked the Rogue Squadron stuff.
I did too. I really like Rogue Squadron. What's the other one? Wraith Squadron, the old X-Wing series. Dude, some of those are awesome. Some of those are awesome.
But that's
pretty much anything by James Luciano is decent.
Yeah, Antipathy Zon's great. I would also recommend The Truce of Bakura. Is a great book that features Leia prominently. But what's great about the EU is that it really, like I was saying, it fleshes out the galaxy, right? It's not just about the Skywalkers and their drama.
Right.
It's not just about the Empire and the New Republic. It's
The
about
EU
a
also
living,
adds
breathing
depth and
galaxy.
history. Yeah, it's depth and history. There is deep time in the EU that doesn't exist in the basic Star Wars premise. You know.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So yeah, no, but it is essentially like it does a pretty good job, like Alf was saying, of kind of blending the themes, right? You've got ships that go faster than light, but you've also got space magic.
Yeah. Yeah, until, obviously until metachlorians came in, but that's a whole nother argument for another day.
I mean, is it not true that any force that is currently unknown to science, magic, and any sufficiently advanced science is indistinguishable from magic?
Arthur C. Clarke made that statement about technology, sir.
Well, there was an episode, so not episode. What was it? One of the Thor movies, the second one, I think, where she said, "Is this magic or science?" And he's like, "Both."
Yeah, the Dark World.
Yeah.
Well, also, wait, fuck, no, I messed up the quote completely, because the line of the actual quote was something along the lines of any sufficiently studied magic is indistinguishable from science. Any misunderstood science is indistinguishable from magic. The idea that if you can study something to a certain level of surety, then it goes from being
I think you're kind of quoting a paraphrase of something that Arthur C. Clarke said.
Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke made the statement that any technology sufficiently advanced would appear as magic to the uninitiated.
Yeah, and then vice versa. Any sufficiently studied magic would just look like science to a normal person.
The basis of that statement is the assumption of anything that you perceive as magic being a far more advanced form of technology that you understand.
That is the assumption.
It's the same thing as, like, if you've seen this in movies, and I can't make a specific example, but someone traveling back in time to, say, the medieval period, and you were to show off some of the technology you would have, they probably think you were a witch or, a god or something, because they don't understand it. They think it's
depending
magic.
on what part of the world you're in. Yes.
Right. But they don't understand it. It's foreign to them, so they think it's magic, but it's just technology.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like the what's the name of that island where the plane dropped off supplies one time, and now they worship airplanes as a god?
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Cargo culture.
Yeah, I love that shit. The United States military,
it's somewhere in the South Pacific.
Yeah, they had a Navy base during World War II, and like the natives would, if I remember right, like the natives and the Navy had like a decent relationship, and they really liked looking at the planes and stuff. And then the U.S. Navy just left, and the natives got really, really, really sad. And so they would see that, hey, the soldiers would do this thing and a plane would come, so let's just repeat that thing, and then the soldiers will come back, and they just haven't done it right, I guess.
It's so much more, though, dude. They rebuilt like freaking bamboo airplanes to sit out there. They took bamboo and run it up and down the airstrip, and then weave together mats to make it look like it used to.
It's like the tribe, or it could be the opposite effect in the tribes in like the Amazon that see like drones or planes, and they try to attack them. Even they can't really do anything, but
dude, the North Sentinel
literally the Covenant.
Every single contact they have ever had from the outside world, they kill them and they eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the cargo cults are literally the Covenant from Halo, but significantly less drippy.
He's got a point.
With the world,
he's got a point, man. I hate to be that guy, but damn you, Egg.
The way the world's going, I can't blame these tribes for just wanting to kill any outsiders.
I mean,
technology is a poison. Civilization is a poison.
We look at shit like Optimus, and I gotta kind of agree a little bit with these guys in their little blow darts and shit, trying to shoot down drones. It's like, I don't know, maybe the Luddites are right.
But I just hold up. Let's just think this through properly, right? We're making a bunch of assumptions based on the fact that we are the people they're shooting at. Look at it from their perspective. What political alignment is most likely to show up on that freaking island thinking they can reason with them?
Lord Miles. Lord Miles of Kabul. That whatever alignment he is, because he's currently planning a trip to do that.
Okay, sure.
No. It's the blue-haired hyper lesbians is what it is.
Who are absolutely convinced they'll show up, tell them how they're wrong about patriarchy.
We can change them.
Can we send Soros to that island to try to talk to them?
Soros.
You might be surprised how well
he's about to kick.
I'll send them both. They can go. It can be a father-son trip.
We're just going camping, little boy.
Honestly, let's just how about we just settle, like, instead of having wars, just settle all future conflicts by sending people to that island to have like a little fucking Nerf fight. Whoever leaves the island, their country wins the dispute.
We give them a seagull bone knife. Turtle blues.
I like the idea. Go ahead.
So no, I was gonna say that's more useful than a Nerf gun.
I like the idea of all future fights being handled by the leaders fighting each other. I think that was in a Star Trek episode at one point.
That is a thing. That's totally would fix almost all of our freaking cultural issues that we have, because suddenly
everyone put on some gloves and get in a ring,
Yeah. Or at the very least, if you're the one going, let's go to war.
Gloves. They fight to the death. I say just let them fight to the death, and that's how they resolve their issues.
Razors and shit in their gloves.
or the gloves are it's like a boxing glove, but you have to go until they're dead using the boxing glove.
Oh,
that would just
brain hemorrhage is not a pleasant way to go. I'm good with that.
Hold up. Have you ever worn a boxing glove? Like, they're really limiting on how well you can grab and dislocate stuff. And there's a handful of ground pounders out there that are really good at making people suffer.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying you don't have to grab them. They just hit each other in the head. It's like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but with more leaders.
I hear what you're saying, but Hoist Gracie would be a shoe-in for a president until you put his hands in boxing gloves.
I mean, it's one of those, like most other species, whoever's the strongest ends up leading, right? I don't see why it shouldn't be any different here. Honestly, if you put Emmanuel Macron in a ring with like Joe Biden, my money's on Joe Biden. He's too stupid to know where he is and how much he's been hit.
I don't know though. Joe Biden's pretty weak. I mean,
I don't know.
Dude's in his 80s.
Dementia generally doesn't touch your more instinctual natures, and so what he learned when he was young, all of that racist vitriol that's running around in him, that would serve him well.
Just put Macron in blackface. He'll be fine. And he ain't that strong anyway. He's fucking French.
Well, we couldn't get him in the ring in the first place. He'd run away first.
Freaking French people.
Oh man, I think I would pay good money to watch Joe Biden beat the ever-loving shit out of a black-faced Emmanuel Macron.
That's got to be pay-per-view, bro. That's gonna have to be pay-per-view.
Wait, why not? Why not just get like guys that we know have been in blackface, like Trudeau and Governor Whitmer? We know they like blackface. How about have them do it?
No, that won't work, because Governor Whitmer would peg Trudeau, and he would like it, and there would be no fight.
No. What I mean is, like, it's a 2-on-1. It's a Biden. Biden has to fight both, and they're both in blackface.
Well, when Trudeau's not in blackface, he's in permanent gay face.
Yeah. It's the knee socks, man. It's like the socks with the little sock suspenders, like the little man guard.
Yeah.
What do they call them? Yeah. Like, no straight dude wears those. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen.
I don't know, man. That guy creeps me out on levels I can't quite define.
Yeah, because he's a Castro.
Whatever it is, man, I can't tell you what it is. There's something in his eyes that makes me believe he wants to suck the blood out of my children.
Yes, because he's a Castro.
No. See, I think you're mistaken. Obviously, he holds up Castro's ideals, right? He's very, very pro-commie. He admires the CCP, and especially what they did during the Great Leap Forward, which, by the way, for those who don't know, was pretty much starve and murder 60 million people. But that aside, if you look at him though, he's got Castro's face, but he's clearly his mother's son.
It did balance the books.
It did, in fact, balance the books.
I hear you, Sam.
Yes.
I'm raising a counterpoint.
No, I'm saying he has his face, but and ideals, but he has his mother's mind bearing and liking for cock.
Not her husband's though, or not his husband's. Not his husband's.
Oh fuck!
Does he like ice cream? I bet he does. Just ask her how to think for ice cream.
Justin Castro.
Aaron Laura, if he doesn't have eye syphilis, he should.
Someone should give it to him.
So last night on Abyssal Musings, it was our 100th episode, which thanks for everybody who showed up and watched that, by the way. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
How'd that go?
So
how'd that perform?
Larry showed a bunch of clips of the show throughout, like the history of it, going all the way back to the first episode. We bounced around a little bit. And in one of those clips, he did just to kind of like, you know, I don't know, it was like a gotcha moment or something for me. But in it, I have been recorded on the internet saying that I think that the whole world needs to get syphilis in the eyes. That was out of context.
Obviously,
I did say that.
What you say does need to be in context.
I did say that, but I was looking at the state of the world and where I think it's going to lead, and I'm like, fuck it, let's just give everybody syphilis in the eyes. So he brings that up.
That passes the blood-brain barrier, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he brings that up, and I'm just like, and he's like, well, what do you have to say for yourself? I was like, well, now that I've had a couple of years of, experience doing the YouTube thing and a lot more immersion in what's going on in the world and where it's going, and my eyes are open to a few new things that they weren't at the time. Crazy. I stand by my statement 100%.
Sam gets facials, good to know.
Yeah, it was a Larry thing to do. You notice he didn't bring up a single clip that painted him in a bad light.
Oh no, that's the producer's. No, that's the producer's gift. That's the one thing that he has control over. And so as a producer, he thinks himself above the show, right? I'm not actually a part of this show. I'm not the content. I'm making content. Trust me, I'm a producer. I know these thoughts, right? But the thing is you can't insert yourself into the content without becoming a part of the content. And so that's why on a lot of shows you will never see or hear me in relation to it unless the host actually brings up that I'm there. If they choose not to mention it, that's their choice. And that's the difference. He's a part of the content. He is a part of the show. So he should have ballsed up. He should have went to Nomi or went to Gal and been like, hey, I need some rough clips of me saying silly stuff, because the ones he remembers are probably terms of service violations he'd rather not recall to.
Right. I don't know that anything I have said on here. No, I take that back. I've had at least one actual terms of service violation, but it was like one of those hazy little rules about like hate speech or some shit like that.
Wasn't it two?
No. One was a warning. And it didn't quite cross that line. And what's funny about it?
Gotcha. So, and we're not counting like Star Trek strikes or anything.
No. Those are copyright violations. It's not it's not the same thing at all. So there was it's funny though, because this was on Star Trek Engage way back in the day. The one and only time we had Dermy on. Right.
Fuck, I don't want to hear this now.
He said some shit about Adam, and Adam spouted off with, you see, he just wants to put me in a goddamn oven. So I clipped that out, right? And I made a little short video of it, not like a short, but just like a 4 or 5 minute video out of it. And I put it up on YouTube, and within about 30 seconds, YouTube pulls it down and slaps me with a fucking warning. And there's like, this contains hate speech. I was like, but it's in the episode that we just did that's 2.5 hours long. And it's all still in there, and it's all still up. And you guys didn't even hit us with a copyright claim for that one.
Yeah, it's monetized.
It's like, what the hell?
Over here, I did a show a couple of days ago called it was about risk management, right? Risk assessment for YouTube's, because the terms of service are also very vague, and we all read them and come up with different interpretations on things. And let me tell you, none of your interpretations are correct. Mine are not either. They're interpreted in the moment in the darkest possible way or the best possible way, depending on how much money you generate for them. And it's done by algorithm. And so there is no human being bothered in the process of these strikes. Just none.
Nope, not at all.
My most recent one is retarded. I clipped from a long form video, these two guys who were in a boat, right? Dude's laying down in the front with his hand behind his head, about half asleep, and the other guy's driving. And he says, "Hey, Matt, there's one right there." Matt turns and looks over in the water and splashes it at an alligator, 9 foot long surfaces, 4 foot long head. Homie surfaces to the water. He reaches his finger under his chin, picks it up, picks up a beer, spikes it on one of his teeth, tosses it to the driver, spikes the next beer, then lets it go, taps it on his head, turns around and shotguns the beer. That video is still up and still monetized. And yet I clipped it and just asked what level of Florida man that is and caught a cruelty to animals strike violation. The only animals in that film were the Florida guys.
I think you remember. I remember you telling me about that. Yeah, no. The actual violation that ended up getting my channel and another channel taken down for a week was my reading out a lengthy quote by the son of one of the founding members of the WEF, calling for the heads of the WEF, Bill Gates, and everybody who was involved with the vaccines, because he called them a bioweapon, right? Because him and everybody he knew was either dead or dying of this particular thing. And so he was rightfully upset. And so I just read out his quote and all that. And we got hit for medical misinformation. They took the stream down. Then they took the channel down. Then they said, well, then now you're on a 90-day probation. And, so don't get any more strike. It was my very first channel strike. And I got it for quoting a dude.
I avoid anything controversial like that if I can. It's very rare I do something like I've been doing with Helene, where I'm doing a couple hours every week. If anybody that survived Helene wants to come up to, or Milton at this point wants to come up and talk about the problems. I'm looking for one man who was saved by FEMA. Anyone, anywhere who will come up on my panel and tell me that FEMA did a good thing, that it helped them.
Look, Squash, look. You and I know that unicorns don't exist.
Was it Socrates who wanted one good man? Who was it?
It was God. Wasn't it? When he was talking to
potato, who cares?
I mean, the whole Sodom and Gomorrah thing, the Lot's wife.
Who hates to know the white and have beards? Get over it.
I think he's like, yeah, if you could prove to me that there's one decent person in the entire city, I won't kill everybody. And he's like, he couldn't do it. He's like, well, I guess we're moving.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I get my lore mixed up. I also, I want to ask you about this Nikocado avocado BS. Skinny, fat.
Honestly, I haven't been following any of that,
dude.
Nobody has. See, that's the thing.
I saw the video he put out where he revealed his weight loss. Because, the only reason I queued onto it, because I saw, I think it was a couple months ago, someone did a documentary about his ridiculous weight gain. And they're like, this guy's unhealthy, he's going to kill himself, he's doing this all for profit. Meanwhile, he lives in an $11 million apartment, but either way, the whole point of the documentary is pointing out about how he went down this road doing these mukbang videos for money, and that he's eventually they were gonna find him dead somewhere. And then a month or two later, after I saw that documentary, he's putting a video out showing that he lost like 500 pounds or whatever it was. I don't know how much he lost, but.
All right, my daughter was a real big Nikocado avocado fan, and she loved to sit around and watch him smack his way through any old snacky thing he could come across, right? Don't ask me why. She was a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old girl, and that was just something she did when he uploaded a video. Over the past 3 years, those uploads have become a little bit further apart, and not quite as chunky. And it's been sort of a steady content decline in the amount of content released versus what the content was. And in every case, it was always a mukbang thing. I noticed a couple of years ago, I was like, hold on a second, pause that. And she paused it. And I went, does he always use the same set? And she says, yeah, well, 2 or 3 videos and then something will change. And I'm like, okay. There is nothing in this set to register a date, a time of day, a location. There is no calendars. There's no clocks. There's nothing in this set that is current. In fact, it has a weird 2 or 3 year old look to it where it's a little too bright and a little too vibrant.
Yeah. They even said the last 6 months to a year that he'd been releasing a lot of videos he produced behind the scenes and then put out later, just for this time period.
That's what I was saying to her
the last
then.
The last 6 months, he's been doing his whatever routine he's doing to lose weight, but he's been putting out videos like he's still fat.
Well, yeah, and that's where I draw the line at it. All right, so I don't think it's deceptive marketing. I think it's flawless marketing. There's no such thing as bad publicity. And so if people are talking about you because you're doing this horrible big fat acceptance bullshit, which is just an attempt to murder people by every major corporation and government in the world, why not pull the most ultimate? Do you remember what his content used to be? The social experiments.
I do remember that. I remember like a lot of it was him traveling around in whatever countries,
doing something really dumb outside of somewhere really famous, and the reactions of people coming across him who have never heard of Nikocado avocado or the concept of a social experiment. This tidbit, this little bit where he goes from being fat to skinny and nobody exactly knows how, is right in line with his original content on his channel.
Yeah.
Slightly trolly, very deceptive.
I'd be curious how because he's gay, which I don't give a shit, but his boyfriend got fat too. And I'd be curious to see what his boyfriend looks like, because his boyfriend apparently left him at one point because of how destructive it was getting. This is based on the documentary I saw.
Right, but that's my question, is how much of that documentary was actually privy to the inside workings of their arrangement? You know, because if it was all taken from YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, then it's whatever he chose to release it to the public. Think about it, dude. Layers. This stuff is all layers. I could convince you I was the king of fucking Narnia if you gave me this completely clean slate to start with.
High king or low king?
Dude, does it matter? I've got the evidence that I'm descended from both and I'm in line for the throne for both. So, like, all I gotta do is whip up some special effects and a couple of, people giving false confessions and statements. I mean,
that's not even a family stick.
I'll walk down here to the liquor store and get somebody to say I'm the king of Narnia on film.
That's not a family. That's not even a family stick, dude. That's a family noodle.
All right, I'm gonna share this. This is Nikocado avocado. The side. Hold on, let me add it. Share screen.
Wait, I'm curious now. What did Sam post?
All right, I just shared it.
All right, give me a second. I'll bring it up.
This is the weight difference.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's cocaine. That's cocaine, 100%.
It doesn't have to be. Have you read into some of the things that happens when you take Ozempic?
Not really. I haven't paid too much attention.
That's
to that.
Ozempic body, bro.
I figure that meth is more efficient, and you don't need a prescription.
What are the other tabs? Oh, nothing interesting.
No. But no, that's like the last couple videos before he came out with his skinny video.
Sure.
That's how he looked.
But the videos are from literally months ago. He hasn't put anything visible in his shots that would tell you who, what, when, where, why in years.
Yeah.
His mukbangs are always done on a controlled set. So all of the mukbangs looks the same to me. Yeah, it's the ego. Sure. My man's seeing ego, not flesh. And he's right.
I mean, the dude's a genius. You know, if he did that, he got all fat and then like lost it all and was putting out videos.
But look at it this way.
He probably put a bunch of mukbang videos together all at once and then with the intent to release them over 6 months while he's losing
Something
weight.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think it's. I don't think it's that deep. I think we're all overthinking it. Look at it from this perspective. Homie was getting rich making mukbang videos. Realized he couldn't do this for the rest of his life because it was freaking killing him. He goes to the doctor. Maybe he had a cardiac incident, right? These things will change your freaking life, dude. You get slapped in the chest by Thor's hammer, and you'll make a different decision.
Okay. So you're right. Their life-changing events will change things for you. Like, look what happened to Kevin Smith, right? He has this massive heart attack, and it completely changes his outlook and his, eating patterns. He stops eating like anything that's good for him at all, and all of a sudden, he just loses a bunch of weight. Now, what gets me here is if the second picture is indeed the same man, right? Why doesn't he have just like, drapes of loose skin hanging from everything?
Aren't there surgeries for that?
The dude was fuck. The dude was a filthy rich because of his mukbang videos. He could have surgery to remove the loose skin.
Yeah, because
he probably used a combination of Ozempic and a personal trainer to lose the weight, and then he had surgery to remove.
Or he got cancer.
Or he got cancer. Or he.
I prefer.
I don't think he got cancer, but. It's possible. But either way, I think he did a combination of Ozempic and personal trainer to lose the weight, and then he got surgery to remove the excess skin.
Although, and I don't think it's cancer, kid, because I mean, if you look at the second picture, right?
I didn't see cancer.
Sure, he's pale, but that's in line with the guy who's on the computer all the time. But he doesn't have dark circles under his eyes. He looks relatively well fleshed. Yeah, and even for being pale, he still looks like a good color. He looks healthy. He just looks thin.
I don't know, man.
But that's the thing. That's how thin he was before he started all his mukbang videos.
Look at
he's a small guy.
That man in that first picture, looking at his eyes, has looked death straight in the face and didn't flinch. He has committed to what he's doing, and he hates it. That guy in the right, the look in his eyes is similar, except it's more along the lines of he's stared death in the face and survived. There's a little bit more aggression in that one on the right. That one on the left is a total victim. This guy's not a victim.
Off-topic random question. Why does Gal have devil horns and a tail?
That's her.
It's Spooky Month.
Yeah, it's her Halloween avatar.
Oh, fuck, it's out. Yeah, it's fucking October.
Where have you been?
Where have you been? It's like October 11th. We're a week and a half into it.
Look, okay, listen. I bombed the Chinese test. I turned all my social media off to focus on studying. So my life has basically been working out, class, studying, and work. Days kind of just don't really blend very well.
Well, they blended too
well. Or they blended too well. The only reason I know I have to pay rent in a couple of days is because my phone reminded me, hey, you have to pay rent in a couple of days.
Right. No, I've been there, dude. I've been there. I have been on a schedule working 7-10, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that shit is murderous.
Yeah. It's not really the time commitment. It's more of just I'm not really paying attention to the passage of time in regards to other things. I've gone full. I've removed my ability to rationalize, and I've gone full pain and pleasure. But I have no pleasure, so it's just pain.
Are you telling me you're time blind? If you show up late, I will be upset.
I'm a Zoomer. I'm not that fucking retarded.
So to put that Nikocado avocado stuff to bed, he revealed that a month or two ago. Has he been doing mukbang videos again, or has he changed up his whole channel and routine?
It's gone cryptic, man. The last few videos have just been him talking to the camera and not really doing anything. He's standing on the edge of some wood somewhere in one. He's standing in what appears to be the vestibule of some building in another one. It's weird.
Realistically, the guy's worth millions of dollars now. So what does he give a shit about? Yeah,
right, he's Bill Delphine.
So I got the complete track of Milton backstage. and I noticed something weird about it that I've never seen in a hurricane before. And I'm gonna, if anybody happens to have any, headgear, this would be the time.
Well, I mean, clearly Milton was after his stapler, so apparently Florida took his stapler.
Deep. Oh wow. Oh,
it's my stapler.
Take my stapler. I'll burn the whole place down.
Is that something? Is that a reference to something?
Yes, it is.
Yes, Egg. Whenever
Something
you
that's
find
in fact
hat,
older than you
we'll
are.
find out about it.
I'm confuddled and concerned. Why is everything older than me? Why is that just a thing?
So here's
You
the
haven't
thing,
been
Ken.
born yet.
Like you're familiar with the film Idiocracy, correct?
No, absolutely no clue what that is.
What? What is wrong with you? Go watch that movie.
Well, shit.
I'm Gen
Before
Z.
you watch that, go watch Office Space.
Yeah, Office Space is
What's
great.
that?
The movie that we're referencing with the staple.
There's a guy who's
it's
complete
a
pushover.
It's a show that parodies working in a office that has cubicles and standard company work. It's great because my dad,
Also, it's The Office.
when I showed it to my dad, because
No.
my dad did a lot of work working in companies with cubicles, and he thought that shit was hilarious.
Sure,
Mhm.
but every time I ever ended up in a cubicle, I went and looked at them and say, I have physical skills that are far better than sitting at the desk. And they're like, "What do you mean? I can build anything. Give me something to do." And I end up in maintenance every time.
I know. I'm just saying, Office Space is great. You can't not watch that movie.
I agree, and I can't believe you don't know Idiocracy. Like you hang around people on the internet all the time who reference that movie incessantly. How do you not know Idiocracy?
And he laughs at it.
All right, Shadow,
yeah.
homework. Go watch Office Space, then follow up and watch. Can't think of the name of it. Idiocracy. Yeah.
Before or after I do the homework that lets me actually pass the class I need to graduate in the spring.
Before or after you dare
Dude,
come back to darken my door again.
It's an hour and a half to 2 hours. Come on, man. I was in college once too. I watched a bunch of movies during the week.
Hold on, that's not fair. There was more cocaine back then.
Well,
yes, but I would have to slip it in between watching American Psycho and Fight Club.
See, there's your problem.
You've seen those though. Put those aside.
I've seen those.
But
watch something new.
They're gospel.
No,
so is Idiocracy.
But Idiocracy is the gospel from which these were written.
Idiocracy is prophecy. You have to watch it.
This
is where the world's going. It is basically it's basically the Bible telling us where the world's going 500 years from now.
It is. Right now we're in an election right now that will determine whether or not President Kombucho gets elected.
Kombucho. Oh, that's such a good movie.
Is that the fucking? I think I've seen clips of it. Is that the movie where the guy takes a test in prison and he's the smartest guy in the world? So
yes.
Okay.
He gets frozen. Okay. Okay.
I've seen clips and the end of that movie.
All right, Shadow.
I kind of know what you're talking
here's
about.
Here's the gist. He's a army soldier that gets frozen and he wakes up 500 years in the future and he's the smartest man alive because everyone's gotten dumber over time.
They just do what their phones tell them.
Yeah.
You mean like what happens right now?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's prophetic, dude.
It's prophecy. Yeah.
We have a literal WCW personality running for president right now, and everybody wants to pretend like that shit's normal.
Look, if you want to know where everything's going, if you want to know for sure where everything's going, there are two movies you need to consider, both of which have parts of the truth, but I think together as a whole, they make the whole truth. And the first one's Idiocracy. Demolition Man is the other.
Oh,
I have seen that one. It's a very good movie.
Yes, you'll like Idiocracy then.
Yeah. Well,
Idiocracy is more from a comedy perspective, but yeah,
you're going to be face palming so much. I advise you wear a helmet.
I already have one.
Good girl.
Then watch the movie.
I'm not a female. No, that's squash.
Watch.
Well, now listen, these days, I mean, we could change that.
You were generally
not fucking happening. I'm not pulling a kids.
All right. Dude, just watch Idiocracy. You will thank us later. And Office Space.
Understood.
Yeah, Idiocracy does make a really good argument for incompetence over malice in terms of government operations.
No. I sit here and I think, all right, I've got this. I'm in a bunch of different truther circles, flat Earth and stuff like that because of my name, pretty much. Nobody's willing to call me out because I'm a Sasquatch and I have a capital A in Asian. So, they're worried that some splash damage may take place. But anyway, all of these people have one thing in common, and it took me a while to put this together. They disavow current models. Regardless of what they replace it with, all of them start with the premise that they are lying to us, which I think we can all agree is true.
No, I disagree. I don't think they're lying to us. I can't think of a single laptop that provides perfect example of them lying to us.
I mean, there's one.
But CNN told me the Hunter Biden laptop story wasn't true and that 50 not Secret Service members, that 50 intelligence agents informed us that it was fake.
You have something in common with our buddy Bradley Burnett. You both really, really love the sarcastic angle when you say stuff.
Hey,
but it's not good. Just say it straight up.
Shadow, do you like Mike Judge?
Dude,
I feel like I should know the name. I just can't recall a face.
So
to it
he
right
did.
Well, as Andy says here,
he did the show King of the Hill.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes, I know
there
who
you
you're
go.
talking about.
Mike Judge did both Office Space and Idiocracy.
I like King of the Hill. It's a good show.
Yeah, so you'll
it's
like
fantastic
those movies.
satire. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an excellent satirist. He really goes for the jugular.
Yeah, he did. He did both those movies. So yeah.
Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho.
It's the best name ever. Weren't they using Mountain Dew or Gatorade or something to irrigate their crops? And they were just like,
it was Gatorade.
It was called Brondo. It was called Brondo.
That's it, Brondo.
Yeah, and he's just like, well, have you tried water?
And then they're like, from the toilet.
Yeah, sure. And he does one field in water and the rest of the economy is based on, it's beautiful. It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Oh, it's fantastic.
There's one more movie you need to add to that list as far as being prophetic, is Wall-E.
Yes, Wall-E is very. Also, I'd argue Starship Troopers.
No, not so much. Starship Troopers.
More in the preamble.
The individuals are self-reliant in Starship Troopers. These people are
no. I mean the setup. I don't mean the utopia that was crafted as Heinlein as a response to the collapse, but I mean what led up to the collapse. Where he
my second favorite quote is from Heinlein, and it's "Never teach a pig to sing; it wastes your time and annoys the pig."
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like how he discusses that youths aren't disciplined, and so they basically just kind of break stuff whenever they want. They stop developing useful skills. They just become a bunch of layabout, wastrel criminals. And then you also have societies run by a bunch of soft-hearted sociologists that just kind of ruin everything. Does that sound like something that's happening?
Well, it's not the soft-hearted sociologists that are actually doing this. It seems to be more along the line of the revolutionary Marxists that are behind this one for whatever reason.
Dude. Che Guevara is experiencing a renaissance on the internet as we speak. His name keeps coming up. Some asshole the other day went out and said, on this day, Che Guevara was murdered and it's been a loss to the world. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I feel so bad for him.
You know how many kids that guy had shot? Personally?
Okay. Unironically, I do kind of feel bad for Che Guevara because the man was a brutal homophobe, and the number of homosexuals I've seen wearing Che Guevara
shirts. He was also
shirts,
a brutal commie.
Yeah.
Look, I know that you can find multiple instances of me on Twitter going, communists are factually not people, and I'm providing evidence of it, but I can still feel bad if you're a roach. Okay.
I am surprised at you. I am surprised that you're not singing Marx's praises now too, because he hated black people.
All right.
Marx had two things that he said that were correct. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. I'm sharing a video for Shadow.
Oh God, no.
Watch
All right. Watch this. So.
Oh, good. This isn't weird section.
This is from Idiocracy. So.
I don't understand. Why me? Every time Metzler says lead, follow, or get out of the way, I get out of the way.
Yeah, when he says that, you're not supposed to choose get out of the way. It's supposed to embarrass you into leading or at least following.
That doesn't embarrass me.
I love that. That doesn't embarrass me. It's such a great movie.
You got it there, Shadow.
Drop that. Yeah, there we go. We had a crazy echo going on there.
That wasn't me because I was muted when that echo hit from Sam.
Oh, fair enough.
Might have been me. I don't know. But either way, that's fucking
hilarious.
Am I echoing again?
No.
It might have been me when I was sharing, but
yeah, when you share, sometimes StreamYard gets confused.
Okay, because when Zillich said echo, I thought it was me because 90% of the time I'm 100% of the problem.
That movie is so good, and that's right at the beginning before he gets frozen. Like,
dude,
basically
like,
trying to tell him.
That's the thing. It's about an utterly average intelligence dude who ends up being the smartest person in the world because everybody else is just exponentially dumber 500 years later.
Dude, it's more than that. Homie, he's not even really average. That conversation there proves that he is the underachiever of the century, right? Homie is over here aiming exceptionally low. He's just trying to get through his time in the army. He literally takes a job that's going to have him sleep for a year because he doesn't want to do anything.
That's such a good movie. I'm telling you, Shadow, you will not regret it.
Finds out he's the smartest man alive and the most motivated to change things.
I've been told that before, mostly by Sam, and it's worked on a coin flip chance.
Sometimes that movie and Office Space are amazing.
Understood.
Yeah.
And Office Space is not that long of a movie. I think it's like an hour and a half, but it's so good.
So speaking of, idiotic governments, there was one other thing I had a couple of things. Alf, this is typically how it goes. I will have a bunch of shit to talk about right at the beginning of the show. We will start down a path with the first topic, and then we end up in weird fucking places, and we usually never get to the rest of them. It's fine.
It's my fault.
So no, it's the nature of the show, and I actually prefer it that way because it's I think that natural conversation flows better. I think it makes for better entertainment, and I feel like it's more fun to participate in personally. But this here is from the Department of Justice. Let's zoom in on it a little bit.
Oh no!
New Jersey man pleads guilty to federal hate crime for breaking into Center for Islamic Life at Rutgers University and destroying property. How? As last I checked, we don't have federal hate crimes. That's not a thing.
I think maybe this has been backdoored in, bro.
Yeah.
Or it could just be a random intern was writing this and they're too fucking... It's like the whole assault weapons ban. What the fuck is an assault weapon? It's just like fear-mongering.
Without going down that rabbit hole.
Right.
Yes, I think you're correct. I think they're just saying it so that people get used to hearing it so that when it actually becomes a thing, nobody bats an eye.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, did this guy actually break in and destroy property, or was it he walked in to a building during office hours and then left a wrapper on the floor or something and then got jumped by 6 people?
Well, if he did it in a Center for Islamic Life, I mean, that's the last place you want to do anything like that.
Yeah. I do disagree on one point. There is a such thing as a hate crime. When somebody walks into Canada and blows themselves up, that is a crime that is done with nothing but hate.
No, look, I get that there are different motivations. Hate can be one of them, absolutely. But there is no such thing as a hate crime. There are crimes that are committed with hate. Sure,
Sure.
but they're just crimes. All crimes
the
are crimes.
idea that racial or sexual or political discrimination is attached to it being a crime is absurd.
Yeah. Point to me at a love crime, and I'll accept hate crime as a legitimate term.
Well, that was kind of my what I ended up putting underneath that. I said, so what? The penalty would be lower if a man who liked Muslims did the same thing.
Well, if he was Muslim, it would be lower.
It doesn't, but you see how stupid and arbitrary that is. Like if you commit a crime, the motive should be involved in determining whether or not you committed the crime. But I don't know that it necessarily should have anything to do with the actual sentencing, because then you're talking about two different tiers of punishment, right? Which is
you're automatically
injustice.
When you enter the concept of hate into the concept of criminality. You know, it simply adds another layer of justice to the concept, right?
Yeah.
So what you're basically doing is creating a second tier that is more heinous just because of the reasoning behind the crime, rather than the criminal act itself being merely punished for being a criminal act.
Yeah, Squatch raises a good point. Would that mean someone using a fictional example? Would that mean that someone like Dexter Morgan would get less of a sentence because he didn't hate his victims? He just kind of did it.
You still watching Weinmont TV?
No, because Gal said stop at season 5, and I recognized a lot of the flaws in season 4, and so I stopped. I've actually been watching Peaky Blinders recently, and I really like that. Though I wish it was a little bit more gruesome.
So here's the thing. In Dexter's case, right, the premise is that he's a serial killer who channels his darker urges by going after other serial killers, correct?
Yeah, effectively.
Rather than just like, picking some, other type, because serial killers tend to have very specific types and they tend to stick to those types. There are very few of them that deviate from that in any way. Most of them are kind of idiots.
Yeah.
So you're asking essentially if, since he was in the process of removing threats to the society whilst also being a threat to the society, whether or not that would mitigate his sentencing.
No. That wasn't my point. My point was going with the incredibly hyperbolic example of Dexter does not hate his victim. In the vast majority of cases, he does not hate his victims because for most of that show, he was incapable of an emotional response to what his victims were doing. He just recognized that those are bad people. So by the rules that I've been given, I'm allowed to kill them to get off my jollies. So under this system of hate crime is different from normal crime, if you just killed 6 people because I felt like it, would by their logic give you less of a time in prison if a hate crime is specifically delineated separately from a normal crime than someone who killed 6 people because, they deserved it because I hated them specifically. 6 people are dead. You're still a murderer. You deserve the same amount of time no matter what. It's just by their logic.
But that's not you're looking at like if a person hated 6 people specifically for whatever reason, right? That's not where this hate crime shit is coming from. This is like because it targets a demographic that the perpetrator was not a member of, that it is then classified as a hate crime, regardless of how he actually feels about them.
Okay, within that context, yeah, and I'm starting to realize that we're arguing semantics of something incredibly retarded.
Yes, the whole thing's retarded.
Is being pedantic, but I'm not pointing fingers.
A little bit inbred, not just entirely retarded.
I am. I'm pointing him right at the fucking Department of Justice.
Right. You are correct. But it's not just the Department of Justice, bro. That's what I was going to say a minute ago. You were talking about how idiocracy is an example of incompetence over malice, right?
Mm.
Well, we are living that in our governmental implementation currently. I mean, they're sending electric chainsaws to people without power. This is your government in action, folks.
Oh, I saw
They're
that.
stopping people from doing local rescues because of the concept of accountability being an excuse to abbreviate your ability to help your neighbors, right? These people are trying to say that we can't let you pack in there, even though you are a professional hiker and search and rescue tech. We can't let you hike in there because something might happen. The type of people who choose to do this sort of work accept the results of something might happen. They go in with the intention and training to be able to deal with something. They are what shows up when something happens.
In fact,
Sorry, it kind of frustrated me a little bit.
No, you're right. And like these distinctions, I think, are important because what they're doing is they're setting up like different they're instituting a caste system essentially.
Plato's Republic. I love it.
Yeah.
Wasn't Plato's Republic basically a meritocracy, though? This is
No,
not a meritocracy.
No, it's worse. No. Okay, maybe a different Greek scholar, but I think it was Plato, where basically you have 3 castes and then different castes within them except for the top caste. And it's basically you have laborers, you have guardians, and you have philosopher kings. The laborers are basically slaves. They aren't referred to as slaves, but their job description is basically slaves. They're owned by the state. They don't have the ability for like self-determination. They don't even, I believe, get to marry. They're basically, their sole existence is to toil and work for the guardian and the philosopher king class. The guardian class exists solely to maintain the status quo, to keep the laborers down and to keep out foreign threats from taking over the Republic. They are allowed a few more privileges because they are, the warriors, but they aren't, again, not allowed self-determination. They still have to do what the philosopher kings want, but they get to have wives and children and some luxuries. Then you have the philosopher kings who basically live in a communistic like utopia where they don't have marriages because they get to fuck everyone. They don't have parentage because everyone mutually raises the children. They can just do whatever they want whenever they want. And that's kind of what these people want to create to an extent, though with a little bit of the what's his name? The English guy who coined utopia. Whatever his name is.
I would agree, Shadow, except that I think that the end goal, while you've got your terms like philosopher king up at the top and laborers at the bottom, I think they want to eliminate that middle class entirely and only have the top and the bottom.
Absolutely. That's why they want clones and automatons. Well, not clones. Clones are for the laborers. That's why they want automatons. That's why they want drones and war droids. Because then you don't need to maintain. Then you never have them. Because they're smarter than Plato. They have the recognition that if you give a warrior population the means to eliminate the guys above them, and you don't give them a reason not to eliminate the guys above them, they will do it. So you need to remove their inner human desires to do so, namely droids. And then if you can create your laborers, like what we're seeing them push with genetic engineering, you don't have you can basically create that labor caste where they don't have families because you just grow them in pods, and you can purpose build them for whatever you need them to do: farming, lumber working, sex shit, whatever.
I'm not sure that I agree that it's necessarily smarter. See, with the warrior class thing in the Plato's Republic, right? They're allowed to have homes, they're allowed to have families, they're allowed to do, various like getting through life kind of things. They just don't have the same level of hedonistic freedom that the philosopher kings do, right? But they're definitely above the laborers in terms of what they're allowed to have, like way above the laborers. They get all these privileges and shit. That's how you keep a warrior class in line, is you give them something that they want, i.e. family, i.e. lineage, and you give them something to fight for. Yeah. Which is that future. Right? Ultimately, that's enough to keep most warriors in line, dude.
And if you remove their future, like what you did with the Mamelukes, then all you got to do is shower them in money.
Yeah, because then they're going to go buy it.
Yeah, Mamelukes being eunuchs.
Yeah, but my point is, it's like by eliminating that middle warrior class and all together, then you end up with basically just a bunch of queens and drones. And by queens, I mean of the hey variety, not the ant variety. But you take out anybody who can fight. The problem is it, unless this is instituted worldwide, right? All at once, worldwide, all under one single elitist hegemony, right? You're going to end up having to go up against other fucking ant hives, right? And so maybe some of those ant hives didn't get rid of their warrior class, and then you fucked,
right? Or worse.
Okay. A lot of the communist rhetoric are derived from observation over ants and queen societies like that. We're not ants, bro. We have Edgar Friendlies of the world over here cooking TNT out of soap in the freaking bathhouse, right?
Sure.
Like those people exist. And so anytime you try to do a dictatorship or an overmanagement that's a far away, distant overseer, corruption seeps in because everyone is an opportunist.
Dude,
well, you're
I gotta say this. So I work in an industry where I know what's going on in China. China, not just the leadership, but the people. They think they are a culture. They're one of the oldest cultures. They think they are a culture that is destined to be the dominant culture in the future. They are playing they are playing the long game.
Sure.
They don't care about the immediate what's going on. They are playing the long game. They will eventually take Taiwan. It's a foregone conclusion. They will eventually take Taiwan.
Are we talking about the leadership cast, or are we talking about the average
We're talking
person?
All of them. They're so fucking delusional about their they
don't acknowledge having lost Taiwan
as a nation.
Yeah.
As a nation, not just the leadership, as a nation, they think they are destined to be the preeminent culture in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the vast majority of
said
cultures,
something
but
very accurate there. They are a culture, regardless of whether they're in China or out of China. They're still
united.
Oh,
They're united as a culture, whether they all
culture.
believe it or not. But they all united as a culture.
Yeah.
So they will take over Taiwan eventually.
Taiwan definitely. They'll absolutely annex Taiwan.
And they will probably move into the Philippines eventually.
The Philippines, I see.
The Philippines military is basically non-existent.
Yeah,
yeah. They're also already being infiltrated by Chinese aligned mafias and stuff like that. Like when you look at how in bed with the mafia the Chinese government is and some of the shit they let them do, like some of their I don't remember the name of it, but there's
rumors. It's convenient that there's a lot of Chinese in towns around colleges in the United States.
There are.
There's a lot of like people who say that maybe there's some sleeper agents or groups within the United States that are involved in China.
No, there absolutely are.
If they were activated, they would like cause havoc here.
Howdy, cavalrymen. Cavalrymen.
Yeah, he's been cavalrymen quite a few times.
I apologize. English is my first language.
Is it? Are you sure?
You sure?
Yeah, you're spouting off in commie gibberish in the chat earlier. Are you sure about that? Are you sure you're not a Chinese spy?
Sir, I am too fucking white to be Chinese.
I don't know, you look Chinese to me.
You know what? I've seen some Chinese women do amazing things with fucking Scotch tape and makeup.
I don't know.
I'm not a woman. Hold on.
You know,
I've seen a white dude become Korean, so you're not proving anything about that.
Hold on. Where the fuck is Ming? Hold on. Where the fuck is he? I don't know if it'll actually show up well, but do I look like this son of a bitch? It doesn't show up well. Ming from
You're asking me to compare you to a sample size of billions?
No, I'm asking you to compare me to a Chinese-looking motherfucker from a 20s, 40s
like I said,
comic.
That was actually
brilliant makeup channels where they take the tape off and they let the hair down and they take the makeup off and it's a totally different fucking person underneath. That's all I'm saying.
I've seen those videos before. I'm not a woman and I'm not Chinese.
I'm just saying, you could be. You could be. You could be lying to us all. You know, speaking commie in the chat. Here, let me. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna bring that shit up.
Well, Bush Jonggoren.
Now he's speaking it with his, I don't speak commie, motherfucker.
You speak Russian, jackass.
They're not commies anymore.
They were though. They're fuck no.
Right here. Right here.
Germans. Okay, hold on. Was Marx? Do we count Marx as German or Jewish?
The Russians are dealing with much.
He's referred to as an educated Jew.
They have some integrated Marxist things going on in their government, but they're dealing with other things like. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Russia's weird.
Yeah.
Russia goes through phases, right? It was very commie here in the last century or so, but I mean, it's been imperialist, it's been nomadic, it's been fucking Viking culture at one point. Yeah, I mean, Russia changes. Here's why I don't necessarily fear the Chinese like long term, right? Because While I do agree with you, Alf, they are very focused as a culture.
Well, they very much. I'll put it this way: they very much match us in the Pacific with some technologies
that they stole from us. Yes.
Yeah, and that's assuming the government. And that's assuming the government doesn't have toys that we don't know.
I can't get into details. But...
Sure.
Oh, yeah, shit,
and I won't press you for
them.
him.
You know more about this than I do.
And I won't press you for him or anything like that.
I can't get into details because of my security clearance, but yeah,
it's.
I'll leave it
cool.
there.
It's cool, man. So
yeah,
they're very focused as a people, and they are not like, for instance, the shall we say, the Hebrews are not the only people on earth who think that they're the chosen people and have a divine right.
Every people since the
obviously it's the Irish.
They were the people.
So anyway, the other thing is, shut up for a minute, Shadow.
No,
the only thing is that like Alf, you're right. They're a very old civilization. They have been around for 5,000-6,000 years as a continuous civilization, and they haven't taken over the world yet. They could have at any fucking point in time. They've been more advanced than almost everybody they've ever run across.
But like
Thank you, Sam. And that's actually.
But like I said, they're willing to play the long game. Which
very long. I mean, are we talking another 1,000 years?
Exactly, as opposed to America, where every 4 years, we get into a conflict within a year. People are ready to protest it. In China, not the case. They're willing Their strategy over the next 50 to 100 years is to take over Taiwan, take over a bunch of other places. They have a goal, and they are willing to wait us out. Because
they're buying into the infrastructure of Africa at a higher rate than any other nation on earth.
They want
resources.
They want Taiwan because of the chip production.
Also, it keeps the U.S. off their damn throat.
And their missile, the ranges of their missiles, their cruise missiles, Guam is going to be destroyed.
Yeah. They want they want Taiwan, Guam, the Philippines, Indonesia. They want that as like a guard for the Chinese coastline. But the big reason why I'm not entirely too worried about China is, as Sam pointed out, like there are moments in human history where they had the highest, like they were the economic heartland of humanity for the vast majority of human history. They were the center of culture for humanity for the vast majority of human history. They could pull together armies that would dwarf even like the Roman legions if they wanted to. The biggest thing is the Chinese people have had such in comparison to the rest of humanity, a comfortable existence that they never really had the desire to do anything more than just fuck around with Central Asia most of the time. Like they suffered one naval defeat and they burned their entire fleet. They could have been colonizing Polynesia and America while the fucking Europeans had.
I have a question.
While I agree, go ahead.
In the current stage of things, I think the reason why they're playing all these games is because they are in a state where they have to be adversarial. The reason why we are allowing them to is because we are in a position where we don't need to be adversarial. Once 3 hots and a cot and all the gay sex you do and don't want aren't necessarily provided under the American experiment, things may be different.
Dude, it's way beyond that. They don't care about our LGBT politics. They see it as they want to dominate.
Yeah.
Doesn't have anything to do with us. They want to expand their influence and dominate. All right, go ahead, Caucasian.
So here's my question. Based off the statement that you just made involving the fielding of an army capable of dwarfing a Roman legion, could it take the Roman legion, though?
Oh, absolutely not. Chinese soldiers historically were just basically peasants giving good armor and good weapons.
Dude.
There's a reason the Chinese would sublet to mercenaries and tribal peoples.
The difference is today they could field an army of like 3 million soldiers. That's bigger than our entire military together. Not just our army, but our Army, Air Force, Marines, all together.
Sure, and I understand.
And they could probably, under an emergency, they could probably put together a army that's probably 100 million strong if they wanted to.
And I'm not concerned because moving that army would be a bitch.
They can't project it here.
Yeah, but now if we wanted to invade them,
that is one thing that the Chinese have been working on. They want to project their power.
If they could take the east coast of Africa, that would put them in striking distance of any continent on Earth. And they're currently sinking a massive amount of resources into Africa.
The difference with China is they're developing political contacts everywhere.
Yeah.
In the third world.
Well, not just political contacts. I've actually written a few papers on this for a few different classes. This is actually a really, really ingenious scheme. So what they do is they come into a country and they're like, "Hey, we will develop your infrastructure, but as a loan, you'll need to pay us back," knowing that country can't pay them back. So then comes due date. Oh, you can't pay. Okay, listen. Here's what we'll do. We get to take control of this infrastructure until you can pay us back, or better, you give us a portion of this infrastructure. And maybe we get a resource autonomous zone or an economic autonomous zone that you can't fuck with. And then now they basically have, like, in Cambodia, I think it is. And this is like one of the most fucked things I've ever read about. There's basically like a mini Chinese kingdom where the Cambodian police cannot do anything. The local, like the Chinese mafia run the place. You can eat tiger. You can get like children prostitutes. Like it is a fucked place. And it's there because of Chinese investments in the region. And they've been doing that everywhere.
Here's the last point. Here's the last point I'll make. When it comes to China and the threat they are to us in the Pacific, you look at all you gotta do is do a quick Google search of the militaries between China and all the powers in the region. They don't compare to China. We're the only thing holding the line for the countries in Asia. The next closest to us is Japan and Korea. Japan and Korea hate each other.
Yeah.
But they're willing to work together because of a common enemy. But everyone else, their militaries are just minuscule. Like China could roll over the Philippines if they wanted to.
I mean, the thing is, it's one of those situations where we're sitting at like the cusp of World War I, thinking all these toys are going to make the war really fast, and then like my big thing is, okay, but you got to get those troops to the Philippines, and as we've been seeing with drones and cruise missiles and stuff,
they have landing ships.
It comes down to
they have landing ships, the same landing ships that they've been developing for Taiwan. They can use for the Philippines. It's not that far.
Yes, but if the Philippines have like I mean, the
Philippines does not have, but like
a couple $100. Obviously, if it happens like right now,
the Philippines has probably like maybe 20 or 30 fighter aircraft that can do drop bombs.
I'm not saying,
and you're talking about China, who's probably sending hundreds of landing craft across. Yeah. So
landing craft with dozens, maybe with many dozens of people on them, worth
big landing craft.
Hundreds of thousands.
We're not talking World War II. I'm just talking China would obliterate the Philippines.
Again, it comes down to
if they wanted to.
If they can get those people in the Philippines, then I say yes. But
they absolutely would.
If we look at the war in Ukraine, if we look at Nagorno-Karabakh, if we look at what's happening in the Levant, the shifting of conflict is going away from troops, the ability to move troops and keep troops safe, to the application of drones and self-guided munitions. If the Philippines has a large enough arsenal, which I don't know how big
they don't know. Shadow. They don't.
If you only knew. I'm plugged in at Air Combat Command in the Air Force. This is the stuff I'm dealing with daily. The Chinese will definitely roll over the Philippines if they wanted to.
Okay.
Just laying that out. The Navy. Here's the. I'm not gonna. I'll leave it at that.
It's fine. It's fine. We're it's been fascinating though discussing this as well. Yeah. But I think we probably will wrap the show up here. I think I mean we're coming up on 2 hours. I know Alf said he was good for 2 hours. Shadow I think has probably stayed longer than he intended to, but you know, and I can hear Squatch's stomach growling from here. So even though he's got to go find himself a nice hiker to mow down on in the woods somewhere.
So, actually, I prefer Waffle House waitresses, but potato.
Right. But no, this has been good. This is So yeah, I think Alf, you've actually been on this show before, but it was briefly and it was a while back. But
I can't remember. That was a while ago.
Yeah. So welcome to the show. This is pretty much what we do. We argue about inconsequential shit and sometimes important shit, and sometimes it all gets mixed in around together. I will say, as a final thought myself, that I think that China is a threat. They're not the threat. There are multiple threats, and the biggest threat to the United States is in Washington fucking DC.
Oh, I agree. I think DC is the biggest threat to the people. Externally, the biggest threat is China.
My question is,
my personal opinion.
Is it incompetence or malice?
Both.
It feels like malice.
I think it's both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess is what it is. Everything's a mess. And you're right. China they don't have to lift a finger. All they got to do is wait. We will destroy ourselves.
And that's exactly what they're doing. They're waiting for us to be so distracted with what we got going internally. They're going to be able to do what they want, and we won't be able to respond to it.
Yeah. What was it that Sun Tzu said about that? He said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he's sabotaging himself."
Exactly.
Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think they've got that, like what Sam was saying, or was it Alf saying it about sleepers? Like they've got we know their hackers have been fucking with our shit. We know they've got sleepers. We know they're in bed with like cartels and mafia fucking around with the U.S. All they need to do is give a go ahead, and suddenly all of our issues are magnified by 11, and then they can do whatever they want. Though they are not looking so hot in regards to economic and population development, so they do have their own little time bomb.
So, and on that note, we just Sasquatch went to get some poor young thing and camping in the woods for dinner there. So I will outro for him. But we're gonna wrap it up here. You can find everybody who's on the panel and a bunch of people who are not today, but sometimes rotate in and out. Their links are in the description below. Go check him out. Alf's pretty close to 600 subscribers, so definitely go check him out. And doing pretty well over there. As soon as Shadow of Hawk gets a break in his life and is able to, start working on his channel again, I'm sure we'll see great things from him as well. Sasquatch has a thing coming up. I want to say, I can't remember what the date is. I think it's on the 18th, where he's going to be discussing with this Indian gentleman whose name also escapes me, the similarities between certain things in Hindu mythology and Norwegian mythology. So, that should be interesting. Definitely be on the lookout for that. He is also, though, right in the heart of Georgia, where Helene passed through too. So like they're still busy with stuff. But that said, Shadow, do you have anything coming up you want to plug?
Nothing right now, honestly. I did not honestly want to get back on the internet really until around December, but I wanted to hop in and give Alf some recommendations for reading or watching, and then I just kind of stuck around tonight. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Don't be sorry. You're always welcome here. You know that. Who else are we going to kick around indiscriminately? It's not like Dermy ever shows up. No, fair enough. Yeah. You can find him under Umbral Pidgey the White over on Twix.
I'm probably going to be
starting shit. Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah,
it's a little.
When
gay.
I come back, it'll be changed. Probably something involving cherubim.
Now, are you going like classic, biblically accurate cherubim, or are you talking about those idiotic fat babies on the Hallmark cards?
I don't know how accurate they are, but I've seen one or two pieces of art that I might use if they're not too heavily copyright struck. But
wheels
they are
of eyes and wings and fire and ice, terrifying.
Yeah,
names,
like directly drawn from the description. It's still like biblically accurate, using only passages from the Bible to create them, no external influences, and they look pretty cool. They look pretty neat. They wouldn't
scary. Look that neat in person. I'll say that.
Hey, no. They say, "Do not fear." So I would not fear.
Yeah, what if they were lying to you? Some of them fell.
Yeah, I know some of them fell, and I also know that I'm also very aware that once they're given the order to exterminate, they don't stop. I don't care.
You don't need a dissertation, kid. It's just fucking with you. Horny Alf, what do you have coming up? Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, dude, I am 10 subs away from 600. So everyone go check out my channel. I need about 400 something watch hours to get to monetization. So if anyone wants to check out my channel, go look at my past videos, my playlists, check it out, see if there's something you like, go watch it. It helps me out. I got a bunch of other people helping me out, my regular viewers. But yeah, I do streams throughout the week. On tomorrow night well, I'm probably going to do a stream tomorrow, a long play of some game. I might do Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, or
That's a good game.
Or Fallout London tomorrow. But and then tomorrow night I'm doing a ladies' night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're doing a ladies' night. I got a bunch of ladies from this corner of the internet. We're going to jump on and play some Among Us. So
you should start calling that Horny Off's harem.
It's not the first time someone has told me that. That is literally, that's not the first time someone's told me that. But yeah, I'm gonna have a bunch of ladies on. We're gonna play some Among Us. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, just check me out throughout the week. I do game streams. I do retro game streams. I do modern game streams. But yeah.
All right.
Any views help, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna keep sending people over your way, man. You do great stuff, and it's a fun channel, and there's something there for everybody. So definitely go check out his stuff. His link is in the description below, and I believe Shadow posted it in the chat here just a moment ago.
I appreciate that.
As for myself, obviously those of you who are regulars here know we do this show every Saturday, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and sometimes it's really fun and funny, and sometimes it's horrible and depressing, and sometimes it's a little bit of both. But every week you guys keep showing up, so thank you. We also have Abyssal Musings. We just passed our 100th episode. Please go check that VOD out. It was a good time. We had Horror Amarada and Sheep City on, as well as a handful of other people. I think Smoothie DJ popped on for a little bit. Nomi joined us for once, and yeah, it was a good time. Definitely go check that out. Otherwise, you can find me on Beelzehub on Devil's Channel for Beelzepub in the middle of the damn night, right after Abyssal Musings on Saturday mornings. On Adam the Renaissance Nerd's channel for Mellow Mondays every Monday, and then on Exiled Lioness 2, where I help out my friend Amira with her shows when she runs them. Although that's a little bit more, whenever she goes live than a scheduled kind of thing. But that said, thank you all for being here. Appreciate y'all. Thank you to my panelists. And as always, remember, YouTube, it could be worse. It could be raining flaming cobras. Good night, everybody.
See you.
Oh, I got it. It's making me play this.